The Mariners have a lot of questions that they need to answer this offseason, but 5 of them loom bigger than the rest in my opinion, and that first one is going to be whether or not they pick up Jorge Polanco's option. Based on the fact that Jorge Polanco was not what you wanted him to be in 2024, you might be leaning towards no. However, of all the guys they've brought in to be their second baseman in recent years, well, the answer might be yes, because he's been better than Colton Wong or Adam Frazier were. And Jorge Polanco went in and put up a 1.4 WAR in 2024, which is not worth the $10 million that he was getting paid, don't get me wrong. However, in 2023, one WAR was worth about $4.8 million on average. So for every one win above replacement, that was worth about, we'll just round up to $5 million here to make things easy. Jorge Polanco was worth about 1.4 WAR, so theoretically he should have been worth maybe $7 million, I'd say. In 2024, he got paid 10. Next year, in 2025, his club option is for $12 million. Do we think that Jorge Polanco could come back in 2025 and be worth that $12 million, which would be give or take 2.5 or so WAR? I'm not really sure, but let's take a look at his numbers in 2024 and to go from there. In 2024, Polanco really did turn it around towards the end of the season. He ended up finishing with a 93 OPS plus. For quite a bit of that season, it was hovering around like 60. He hit 213, 296, 355. He also ended up hitting 16 home runs with 45 RBI. Now that's very far and away his worst season in the major leagues. He struck out more than he ever has before at 137 times while only playing in 118 games, the lowest batting average of his career at 213, the lowest on base percentage of his career at 296, and I'd be willing to bet, oh wow, it's actually only the second lowest his OPS has ever been, or OPS plus. It was lower in 2020 at the age of 26, where he hit 258, 304, 354. Looking at his Spotrac here, in 2025, he has that club option for $12 million. And I would assume, honestly, for a Mariners team that probably isn't going to spend a whole lot of money going into 2025, they wouldn't pick up this contract because this player that we saw in 2024 is not worth that $12.5 million for a team that doesn't want to spend money. With that being said, where do you go at second base if you don't spend that money on Jorge Polanco? Because are you really going to be able to do better on the free agent market at second base? The only one who really stands out to me is Gleyber Torres. Do you think that the Mariners could get Gleyber Torres for less than that $12 million? Because if you do, then maybe that's where you go. The other option is to go ahead and give the spot to like Ryan Bliss, or maybe platoon Josh Rojas and Dylan Moore over there and get somebody for third base. There are other options that the Mariners could take care of here for the Jorge Polanco option, but I find it very interesting. I lean in the direction of no, that they do not bring back Jorge Polanco. They declined that option. It's a $750,000 buyout. Not a big deal for John Stanton and the Seattle Mariners. But that's one of the most interesting questions the Mariners have facing them over the next couple of months. Number 4 on my list. We know how good the hitting was towards the end of the season when Edgar showed up. How in the world do the Mariners make it work to bring Edgar back? Is Edgar going to be the hitting coach in 2025? Because we know he doesn't want to do that. He doesn't want to travel. They said, and Jerry DePoto specifically, said they're going to try and make it work for Edgar Martinez. They're going to try and find a way to make things as perfect as they can to get Edgar to come back. In my opinion, that means that Edgar might be more of like a hitting coordinator. I know that that word is scary right now because of the whole Brant Brown situation, but if he's only going to be there for home games, maybe some select road games, I don't think he can necessarily be in the hitting coach role because those guys are supposed to travel with the team. So therefore, if Edgar is turned into a director of offense or something, I don't know, which is basically what he was doing before, by the way. So I don't know how this is going to be any different. He's going to try to take on a larger role in the offense somehow. And then Joe and I have talked about this, but they need to hire like a protege, like an Edgar protege, who Edgar just pours everything he knows about hitting into this person, and that person travels with the team on away series. Honestly, a really good fit for that, in my opinion, is Justin Turner. Now, if the Mariners could somehow find a way to bring Justin Turner back as a hitting coach, I think that would be a really, really good way to A, get the veteran leadership from Justin Turner that he showed these guys this year, and also B, a good way to keep him with the organization. And I would love to see Justin Turner back. I just don't know if I want him back on the team as a position player. I want him back as a coach. So what do the Mariners do for a hitting coach going into 2025? Because that's going to be one of the biggest questions. We saw the turnaround when Edgar Martinez became the hitting coach after the firing of Jarrett DeHart and Scott Service. It was a palpable... I was wrong. I was wrong. I said that it couldn't happen. I said that firing the hitting coach would not fix anything, and albeit it was only 30 games, but it kind of looked like it did fix the Mariners' offense going into the latter half of 2024. The third question on my list is, speaking of hitting, what do they do with JP Crawford? Because he had an awful year in 2024, and I don't think that he should be guaranteed a spot in 2025. If the Mariners can go out there and get somebody better than JP Crawford, I don't know, Willie Adames or something like that, and maybe they move JP to second base in that scenario, but like that, JP Crawford should no longer be guaranteed a spot. Because yes, he had the great year of 2023, but 2024 was a massive step backwards. He was terrible at the plate. I am one to believe in JP Crawford. I think he'll probably be the shortstop next year. However, with guys like Cole Young and Colt Emerson knocking on the door, I think that JP's days could be numbered for the Seattle Mariners. I'm not saying that they should actively look for someone to replace him, but they need to leave all stones overturned. They need to make sure they check under every rock to try to find a way to make this offense better. And if that means replacing JP Crawford, then so be it. Sometimes you have to make the tough decisions, and replacing JP Crawford, who hit under 200 in 2024, might just be something the Mariners have to do. The power was gone. The batting average was gone for JP. He quickly fell out of the leadoff spot for the Mariners once Victor Robles showed up. And I think that that is one of the reasons why the Mariners need to, when they figure out their hitting coach situation, possibly look at adding another shortstop in 2025, because I don't think that JP Crawford can be that guy. I think that if they go and reach out to Willie Adames and he says, I'm good, thanks though, and, maybe they see Cole Young and they're like, okay, he's not ready yet, then they say, okay, JP, like, this is it. I Bleav he's a free agent after next year anyway, so more than likely, based on everything he has given the team, he will be here as the shortstop next year and just become a free agent after that. But like the passing of the torch to Cole Young or Colt Emerson or something like that is something that feels kind of inevitable in 2025. And while I do look forward to it a little bit, I do love JP Crawford, so that's going to be kind of a bit of a bummer. But you can't roll into 2025 just expecting JP to return to what he was in 2023, because that guy just might not be in there anymore. Acquiring offense is going to be very hard for the Seattle Mariners this offseason, and honestly, one of the best ways to do it was a question that I have at number 2, and one that I think we have had answered, but I think that there's still an opportunity here that the Mariners end up trading a starting pitcher to go out and try to acquire some bats, because while they could try to sign some bats on the free agent market, let's be honest, a lot of bats aren't going to want to come here because this is where hitters come to die. We've seen that plenty of times. Again, Jorge Polanco being the most recent example, and of course Mitch Garver as well. The Mariners need to go out and get bats, but they're not going to be able to sign some of the top guys on the free agent market, A, because they're going to cost too much, but B, because guys don't want to come to Seattle and deal with this batter's eye thing that Teoscar Hernandez has talked about, or whatever else the actual problem is in T-Mobile Park. We'll probably never actually know, because it's probably a bevy of different things. So the best way for the Mariners to go out there and acquire hitters, honestly, would be to trade for them. And what are your best trade chips right now? Your starting rotation. And if you're trading somebody like Luis Castillo, you're getting some money off your books as well, which we know how much the Mariners love to do that. Now, Jerry Dipoto said that trading somebody from the starting rotation is like plan Z this offseason for the Seattle Mariners, so that only is going to happen if other things don't go right. But as we've seen in recent years, most of the time things don't go right for this team in the offseason, as they've added some guys they probably shouldn't have had to add, and they have had payroll cut by John Stanton like halfway into the free agency period. So there's still a slight possibility the Mariners do end up trading one of their starting pitchers. I don't want it to happen. I love all these guys. I love all these starting pitchers, and I think they should be able to stick around until one thing or another happens to where they're no longer as elite as they have been. That's what I think should happen, but I'm also not John Stanton. I'm not the one paying these guys' checks or anything like that. So do the Mariners decide to go out there and trade Logan Gilbert, who's going to start making quite a bit of money in arbitration, to go out and get some of the best bats you can on the trade market? I don't know who those guys are. We bring up the Orioles a lot just because they need pitching, and they have some really, really good offensive players, so they're just the easy ones to make this metaphor to, I guess. Do the Mariners go out and trade Logan Gilbert for Jordan Westburg and Colton Cowser or something like that. And that's just an example. I don't know if that's possible. But nonetheless, for the Mariners to go out there and acquire actual big league talent instead of having to go basically bargain bin diving, they may have to trade one of these pitchers. So it'll be interesting to see how that question gets answered going into 2025, because that's one of the biggest questions I think that we have. However, the one that sticks out the most, and I think the one that we all think about more than we should while we're laying in bed at night, sad that the Mariners season is over, is will payroll actually go up? Jerry Dipoto said, and so did John Stanton, that payroll is going to go up in 2025. Jerry Dipoto also mentioned that a lot of the guys that they like for their team are already here, and that payroll is going to go up significantly just because of in-house players reaching arbitration. Yeah, fantastic. So the Mariners may not actually be going out and adding a whole lot of guys in free agency because, well, A, a lot of guys don't want to come here. B, payroll will technically go up, yeah, because they'll have guys reaching arbitration. Is that what they meant? God, I hope not. But when we hear every year that payroll's going to go up, and then John Stanton comes in, because we heard it last year, payroll's going to go up, and then John Stanton said, no, Root Sports is dead or whatever. We can't bring up payroll. I can't afford it, blah, 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 as he sits on his luxury yacht. It's the main question that begs to be asked every single year by the Seattle Mariners fans, and honestly, even the players on the team. We've heard it from Cal Raleigh and other members of this organization, like, the Mariners need to go out there and spend, and they haven't done it. And that's pretty clear that is one of the things that is really holding them back. In 2024, the Mariners finished like 18th in payroll in all of baseball, whereas when you look at their attendance numbers, they were pretty close to the top 10 and the amount of seats that they were selling to every single game. Why is this happening? Why are we stuck here with John Stanton being one of the worst owners in baseball? I don't know, but that they deserve to be questioned. They deserve to be asked whenever they say payroll's going to go up. Fans deserve to be skeptical, honestly, of the moves that these guys say they're going to make, because frankly, they haven't done it. And all the BS about, I had a tough time personally reading the article by Adam Jude and Ryan Divish about the scars of the Robinson Cano contract. Robinson Cano was worth every penny to this organization, and they traded him before he became not worth every penny. And they didn't have to take on any of that money for the most part. So that article made no sense to me. The one that seems like that stood out more was Felix Hernandez, a guy who was not worth his contract in the end, which is he deserves the contract. Obviously, he gave everything to this city, and I love Felix Hernandez to death. But I think a lot of people do regret giving him that contract, because after 2014, he was not the same guy anymore, and he was still under contract for 5 years, making a good chunk of change, which really inhibited this ball club. Do I think the Mariners should go out there and sign, a couple $30 million a year AAV contracts? No, I don't think so. But they should be in the market for guys like, I don't even know right now, like Michael Conforto or Willy Adames. He's probably going to make over $20 million a year. Like, they should be in the market for those guys. Honestly, the Mariners should be in the market for Juan Soto. They won't be, but they should be. And that's one of the guys I think makes a lot of sense to add to this roster going into 2025. And I actually made a video about my top 7 free agent targets for the Seattle Mariners offensively going into next season. Go ahead and check that one out on the screen now. I appreciate you guys watching this one, and go Mariners.